So pro-democracy campaigners around the world are today marking the 12th year of imprisonment of Aung San Suu Kyi. Well, it is also 1 month now since the recent protests in Burma were brutally crushed by the military regime. Let's get some more on this now. We're joined by Zoya Phan, who's the campaign officer for the Burma Campaign here in the UK. Good morning to you. First of all, just tell us a little bit more about the protests taking place today and what they do hope to achieve.
Well, today is a global day of action. We try to target this time the Chinese government. It will take place in 12 major cities around the world because it is the anniversary and also the total of 12 years of house arrest of Aung San Suu Kyi, and it shows that the world do not forget her and we're still with her. And we will do in front of the Chinese embassy because China is the main country that blocked the UN Security Council to have a resolution on Burma for the calling of the release of Aung San Suu Kyi.
And are you hopeful that these protests today can have an effect, especially as it's only a month since we saw those protesters being taken off the streets?
Yeah, that's right. We have hope in it, and this is true that we have to put lots of effort to campaign, to lobby, and to get UN Security Council's binding resolution for Burma, because people are suffering in Burma and they are oppressed by the regime and they have a very difficult life. And it's the time when the people in Burma overcome fear and then they want really change. So they took up to the streets and then they demanded for change and political reform in Burma. So it is very important that the international community to pay enough attention to these people, and then China should use its influence to urge the regime for genuine political reform in Burma.
And you yourself have come to the UK and been here for several years now. Tell us a little bit more, if you would, about your own background and how you personally have been affected by the regime in Burma.
Well, when I was just 14 years old, my village was attacked by the Burmese army because the Burmese military regime that rules the country, they use rape as a weapon of war, and they have the policy of ethnic cleansing. And I belong to ethnic Karen in eastern part of Burma, where my people have been suffering so much under this military dictatorship, from ethnic cleansing, from appalling human rights, from extreme poverty, and everyday people were struggling for their survival. And thousands of people are hiding in the jungle because their village were destroyed and their possessions were destroyed by the regime. And in the past 10 years, in eastern part of Burma alone, 3,000 villages were destroyed, and it is one in a week. And thousands of people try to escape the attack and then find their way to neighboring countries, like in Thailand. When I was fleeing, I fled into Thailand, into refugee camp, and then I grew up there.
And are you hopeful that the regime will change and the country can change and you will then have the leader that many people indeed voted for?
Well, this is what we've been campaigning and trying and lobbying and struggling for so many years. We need a civilian governments that rule the country with democratic system. People is really fed up with this military dictatorship where they live in fear every day. So we really hope for a genuine political reform, and we have a democratic federal union in Burma where it will guarantee every rights for ethnic groups and peace and security, equal rights. And this generation should be the last generation who suffer under this military dictatorship, and the next can live in peace and freedom.
Zoya Phan, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much for joining us.